So far, we have worked with local storage, and local storage is fine because, well, in this example, we have a contact book where I save locally on my computer, and no one else have access to it. So, and anyone who uses the application gets its own kind of space to save their contacts in. However, the problem is that if I open it up on my computer and add new contacts, and then I go into my cell phone and open up the same application, I don't have access to my saved contacts from my computer, so they're not in sync. I have to start over again on my mobile application. So this is one example where a database could fit in your project, be able to save and synchronize the things that you do on one device and synchronize that one with another device. And this is where we're going to have a look at a service called Firebase. So you don't need to set up your own database. All you have to do is sign up for a free account on Firebase, and that will take care of everything for you. So start by going to firebase.com and create a new login. So sign up as a new user. Once you have logged in, you will be taken to the dashboard on Firebase. And this is where you can find your databases. And they're called apps, which is kind of weird maybe, but see them as, you know, if you have one app, you should have one database for that app. Okay, so start with just creating a new app. We're going to create a kind of simple example first. So how to create a high score list for a game. So I'm going to call this simple game. That's going to be the name of this application. It's going to be a very simple game, and the URL is going to be simplegame.firebase.io.com. All right, now we have a new app or a new database inside of Firebase, and the rest is done with JavaScript. So what we need to do to get started is to get a reference to the Firebase REST API for JavaScript. So let's go to Quick Start and choose Web. And if I scroll down here, I have this line of code where we insert the Firebase JavaScript file. So I'm just going to copy that one and head over to my editor, like so. All right, so now we're set up for using Firebase. The next thing that we need is the URL to our own database, our Firebase app. So let's go back to Firebase and copy that URL. Simplegame.firebase.io, that's the name. And when I click here, I go into that. As you can see here, this is the address. Right now I don't have anything saved in here, so this is a visual look of whatever you have saved in your app or your database. Anyways, I'm going to copy this line of code here, and I'm going to go back to my editor. To be able to read and write to our app in Firebase, you know, we created a new app, and we need to know that, okay, I'm writing to this application or this database. I'm going to say database from now on. All right. We need a reference to that one. So let's start a new script tag here. And so the first thing is create a reference. So let's call this my Firebase ref. Okay. Now that should equal a new Firebase and it takes one argument, and that's the URL to your database that we just created. So in here, I'm going to paste that I copied before, like that. Simple Game was the name of my Firebase app. and a semicolon. So right now, whatever we do, we will do it to this database. So let's start with just adding a form here. All right, so we have two inputs here. It's name and score, two different text input fields with a placeholder like that. Maybe we need a button as well. So I'm going to make this pretty simple. I'm going to have an on-click attribute here, and it will call the function save. All right. So if we open up a preview here, we should see high score is your name, your score, and a value, of course. All right, save. So this is the world's most simple game. All you need to do is add your name and your score, and let's hope that your score is the highest ever. All right, so when we click save here, we want to save whatever's in these two fields here. All right, so let's add a function save. And we'll capture these two data fields, or sorry, input fields into an object. So I'm just going to call it new score, and that should be an object like that. All right, so new score dot name equals document get element by ID name, right, dot value, and new score dot score equals get element by ID score dot value. So whatever we type in here will end up in this objects, properties, name, and score. All right, so now that we have done that, we have an object holding these two values with different names here, like name and score. All we need to do now is add this to the firebase, all right, the database that we have on Firebase. So let's, with our reference that we have up here, the reference to the database, my Firebase ref, my FB ref, and here comes there are three different methods of writing to your database. You can use set, which actually just writes what you have in here. Then you get a name and score, and it writes that to your database. We can actually have a look at how that one looks like. So set. And all we have to do is pass along the object that we have in here, say it with these different values. So we don't have to stringify it or anything. We just send in the object just as it is. I'm just going to make my text a bit smaller here, like that. And this is our Firebase dashboard. And I just click on click the app simple game. Then I have here like a visual view of whatever I save in here. So let's try this one. Save, run the function save, that creates an object with the name and score, and then set that to the Firebase reference here that we have. All right, so, oh, sorry, that one disappeared. I'm gonna make this window a bit smaller. All right, so save my name here, oh, sorry, and I'll choose the score 13 and save. At the same time here at Firebase, my database is now updated with those name and score that was in my object. All right, so great. What if I add another score here? So Adam comes in here and he say, well, my best score is 12, and he clicks save. And as you can see, now that is replaced. So all I have is one kind of object saved in here in the dashboard, and whenever I click save in here, that uses the method set inside of our reference, the Firebase reference, uses the method set. That just changes whatever is in here. So it doesn't add a new line or anything, or a new object, or new row in your list of things. It just sets whatever you say it's going to set, and if there's anything in there before, it's going to delete it and replace it with this one instead. So set can be used if you have just one set of things that you want to save in Firebase, and maybe if you want to upload it or change it, you set it once more, like a configuration page maybe, or something like that. All right, so that's how set works. Now, if you only wanted to update one of the things, like Adam wanted to change the score, then I would use update. And maybe I would just skip the score part here and just save the score. So let's try that. So even if I try to change the name here to something very strange like that, and I add another score, now Adam is not changed, only the score. So I updated this one, and that does not remove whatever I had before. If I just send in this case, I only send in the score. That will not remove Adam. However, if I remove the name part here, and I choose set as a method instead of update, I set my name here and my score. Now name is removed, because all I sent in here was a new record, a record with only one parameter, one property, and that would be score. So that would remove whatever I had saved before. All right, so there are the difference between set and update. When we're going to save a high score list, we should use maybe the third option instead, the third method, and it's called push. Because we want a list of all the high scores ever saved to the list, so we can compare them and so on. All right, so I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to delete that one. Yes, remove it. All right, and I'm going to use the method push instead. I'm going to type my name in here and a score, and when I save it, this is what happens. It creates a unique key, and under that one is, oh, sorry, I forgot to add this part. New score, that name equals name. Right. Let's just do this again. All right, so remove this one, yes, and start over again. All right. A new unique key, and inside of that one we have the name and the score. All right, so let's save another one. Now another unique key is created, and underneath that one we have the name and the score for Adam. So this is what happens when you push instead of set. You get new rows, so to speak, in your database. Yeah, so that's the difference between those three methods. Retrieving the data is a little bit trickier, but I will walk you through it. To retrieve the data, we have to set up a query to the database using the Firebase reference object. So let's add it, my FB ref. All right. There are two basic queries, once or on. Like that, or like this. Once will query the database one time and then close. on will query the database and keep the line open to listen for changes. In this example, I will use on so that we can see the effect when we save a new high score. All right, the query method takes two arguments, the event type and a function to run when that happens. In this example, I'm going to use the event type child added. It will trigger every time a new object is added and return that latest object we saved to the database. When the page first loads, it will also do this for all the previously saved objects, one by one. If you want the entire database loaded only once, you would instead choose like this. I would use .once to get it just once and not listen for any more actions. And then I would use the event value. But it will be a bit more complicated to iterate through, so let's stick with this for now. The second argument is a function, and I would create it here as an anonymous function. Firebase will attach what they call a snapshot to your function containing the data from your query. To be able to access it, I will call this snapshot data. To get the object back that we saved up here, and I call this object new score, and we saved it or we pushed it into the Firebase database. To get it back, I am going to put it right back into another object. I'm going to call this child score. And we will find it in data using the val method. So whatever we got, the snapshot we got from here, and we use the val method, and that will get it back these objects one by one. All right, so now that we have that, let's just print that to the page somewhere. So I'm just going to add a div tag here. And I'm going to name it scores. So let's just grab that with JavaScript. And I'm going to do this the easy way, so I'm just going to add it to the inner HTML. I'm going to say plus equals so that if I add more, when new childs are added, they will be added to the inner HTML. All right, so what do we want to write in here? Well, we want to write the child score dot, let's have a look here, dot name. And dot score, of course. So then let's just add some a dash maybe, and the score, and a new row here as well. So just add some break tag. All right, as you can see down here, it already started. So as soon as I have this query on child added to my reference, my database reference, it will have a look in my app or my database called Simple Game. It will retrieve all the children one by one, run this function, and get from the data, which is one object at a time, this one first and then this one, and it will pick out the name and the score, and I will just add it to the inner HTML of the scores div that I had down here. All right, so since I have an open line right now, because the query says on child added, I can just add new scores. So let's have Ben add a score of, well, let's say 24. And now, as soon as I click, it is saved to my database, and it is retrieved right back and printed on my page here. So that's fine, but if I want a high score list, maybe I wanted to order my high scores. Well, we can do that, of course. And we add a order by query before we actually say on here. So we add the order by method, so to speak, before the actual on query. So dot order by, and there are different methods of ordering. I'm going to order by child. And that child is going to be score. Since this is how my database looks like, I have these different saves here, or objects, and they all get a unique ID because I pushed them in. And these have children, name and score. I want to order by score, so I don't have to care about this strange thing here. So order by the child score. All right, so as soon as I type this in here, it will happen. I'm just going to reload here because it's going to get these new scores right away. And it's a 12, 23, 24. So that works. But, well, maybe I added them in that order. So let's say Anne. She got a score of 13. So right now that is added. And this query that I have is just saying that, okay, on child added, run this function here and type whatever it is, plus equal to the inner HTML. Now this is of course not ordered because it's only one child that is printing right now. But if I reload my page, so the first time I come in here, it will be ordered. So it will do the ordering, and then it will print out all the childs that were added, and not in the order they were added, but in the order of score. So it will be true for the first time, but then if new scores comes in right as as I watch it, it will of course be well, not the correct order. All right, so anyway, that's how that works. But you'll see a problem here. If I add one more thing here, let's say Caesar has a score of 3. I'm going to save that one and reload the page. Caesar is not, before Johan here. It is last. And that's because when we save these scores, we save them as strings. We read whatever is in the value of this text box here. So it's going to be a value, a string that is saved into score. Sorry, that one line. All right, so what I need to do is actually convert it into an integer before I save it to the database. Otherwise, it will try to sort them as strings. So 3 is, of course, after 2. So it doesn't know that it's, that's how it works anyway. So I'm just going to show you one more example here. John has 222. And when I refresh my page here, you can see that the score is between 13 and 23 because 222 is smaller than 23 when it comes to ordering strings anyway. All right, so what we need to do now is actually just remove everything from in here because it's not going to do me any good since all of these are saved as strings. And I'm going to parse this to an integer. So all right, before I save it to my object score and then push this to the database. So let's start over again. And gets 12 points, then gets 45. Carl has a score of 1. Eric, maybe, I don't know, 54. And Dan has a score of 32. All right, so this is the order in which I saved them right now. If I refresh, it will order by score. 1, 12, 32, 45, and 54. Of course, if I wanted to, I could order by child name. And it would be Anne, Ben, Carl, Dan, and Eric. So this is a how you save and how you retrieve data from a Firebase database in a simple, kind of a simple application, just a high score list.